This movie is about brilliance, pressure, and what it costs to be extraordinary. But the real question is, where's the line between genius and breaking point? Tonight, we're diving into Shine.
And now, our feature presentation.
Fussy, who hired this crew?
What's your favorite scary movie?
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. Show me the money! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Baby, you are so money and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I wrote this one good.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
Welcome in, everyone. Your eyes. This is so funny. Welcome in, everyone, to 52/1996, your live movie conversation podcast, where we turn back time and dig into the films 30 years ago in 1996, and we do it one movie at a time. I'm your host, Cody, and this week, as has been for the last 4 weeks, I am joined by Ryan as we break down the Oscar-nominated Shine. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome to the party. The idea is simple. Every week for 52 weeks, we revisit a different movie released from the year 1996, talking about performances, trivia, other categories, and whether or not this movie gets remade today with different actors, anything like that. But we've been celebrating this month because of the Oscars coming around this time all the time. The films that were nominated back at the 1997 Oscars for Best Picture. Our theme this month is called "It's an Honor to Even Be Nominated," where we're talking about these Best Picture nominees. So let's talk to Ryan a little bit, get him in here and say, how's it going? And have you ever seen Shine before?
I'm doing well, thank you. I've never seen Shine, and I don't think I even knew that Shine existed. So this is a brand new concept movie thought process for me.
Yeah, I did know that Shine existed. I remember it a little bit when it came out back in the day, but I thought it was about a blind guy and not about what it's about. And maybe it's just because I saw clips of him with his eyes closed a lot, and I was just like, this guy's blind.
Yeah, the way he performs is like his mental disability. His eyes are half closed a lot, so I could understand that. Seeing like one quick clip and being like, oh, I think that person has vision problems.
Yeah, and I thought like Shine. I was like, the title, maybe it's because he can't see. He sees the shine.
It's a bad title too.
It is a bad title. It really is a bad title. You've seen it now. I've seen it now. Anything to kick us off?
Well, I don't know. This was a good movie to watch, and both as movie nerds and both as people who grew up in the 90s, we had a head start on this decade, and most of the movies we cover in this podcast I've either seen or know about or have heard of. So it's kind of interesting to do the Oscar month, the 5 quote unquote best movies of the year. And I'd only ever seen Fargo before. I had missed out on the behemoths that were Jerry Maguire and The English Patient. And I had knew of Secrets and Lies later on lists of great movies. And then now Shine is the 4th of the 5 movies that I'm watching for the first time for the best movies of 96. And it's been an interesting ride for that. This one though is it's kind of an enigma. I don't fully think I know how to feel about it.
Yeah, I understand and am with you on that as well. I think that this is the type of movie that we often talk. You and I are usually talking about the 90s as an interesting time, especially for Oscars. We talk about like the boomerification of the movies that we love. Like this kind of seems in that wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't let us dive too deep into mental illness or even defining what the mental illness is in this. And I think that's safe for
Yeah.
this generation. This is you don't ever find out what's wrong with Forrest Gump. You just know he's a little different, Miss Gump.
And I think I think the Oscar bait dramas, especially in the late 90s, have this veneer of sophistication, but if you scratch at the surface, don't have a ton of substance under them. That's kind of left for some weird independent or foreign film in the 90s. And it probably like peaks with like the, you know, most likely mistaken awarding of Best Picture to Shakespeare in Love. You know, which is a movie I like, but I think everybody looking back was like, it's not that deep. But these kind of Oscar bait movies, you could draw a line from something like Shine to Shakespeare in Love, where there is this sophistication to presentation and marketing, but these aren't brave movies either.
Right. I'm actually I was going to leave this towards the end of the when I ask like what we're watching and everything for, you know, what I always do. But I'm reading a book right now called Oscar Wars, which is by Michael Schulman, and I'm a few chapters in right now, but it's basically a history of the Oscars and when they began and like how like the drama behind them, like behind the scenes stuff, rivalries, scandals, even going back to, you know, silent pictures when they first started and everything. It's pretty fascinating. I'm like in the 40s right now, and there's been a lot of stuff that like the Oscars almost died in the 30s because of the guilds. So it's interesting to learn about some of that stuff, but also to see like what type of movies were being nominated back then versus what was nominated in the 90s or what's nominated now. And like, you see a lot of like comparisons, especially with the Hays Code starting in the 30s and everything, that we are getting a lot of like, hey, what's Capra got going on? Because that's what we're going to nominate. And that's going to win kind of thing.
Yeah. Not to get too far afield. That sounds really cool. I might want to read something like that because, you know, movie fans will talk all the time of American movie fans like, oh, the Academy Awards aren't too great at predicting the best movies of any given year. But I think that they in recent years have been pretty good at picking really great movies. Like, you know, it's a good list no matter what. But I used to like try to watch all the Oscar movies and then not pay attention to the ceremony or who won because I didn't care very much. It was just a good list of the past year, right? But there's got to be something pretty fascinating to look back at entertainment awards, especially something like the Oscars and how they are a reflection of culture at the time, how we kind of treat celebrity in America and Hollywood in America as a second religion. And so there's this conversation between like this priest class of the Hollywood elite kind of, you know, needing to please the masses, but also dictating what the masses get to have or what they should appreciate. And that's probably changed a lot through war times and Nixon era. And we see now the sleepy kind of suburban 90s, knowing that we're moving into a more chaotic 21st century. Because the last thing I'll say is that I've noticed in the past few years, maybe not this one, but I saw a rise in movies that came out in limited release 6 weeks before the Oscar nominations were announced. And so like the average American could barely even know they existed, much less access them before the awards happened. And that seems like that trend, when that happens a lot, seems like a thumb in the eye of the like movie going public, and that it's more self-gratifying. But anyways, it's all fascinating. And the 97 Oscars are really a pretty good snapshot of who we were as a country in, you know, 1996 in America.
Yeah, in the Oscars, in the 90s are a unique time anyway, not just with the Oscars. No, really with the Oscars, because this is the rise of Miramax. This is the rise of the campaign, like super campaigning with Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein, who, you know, are much maligned now, but like, you know, it changed the game for how Oscars are looked at. And I feel like for the past 30 years, it's been the very similar path and pattern of how people get nominated. We saw that a couple of years ago with Andrea Riseborough getting nominated kind of out of nowhere for a movie that nobody had seen at all, just because of campaign structure and the way that people sell themselves now in this
Well, and you see
industry.
things now like A24 is kind of mirroring Miramax and Fox
Mhm.
Searchlight in the past 30 years as, hey, we got big money, but we're kind of sniping small projects, creative director driven projects, giving them everything they need to succeed without a lot of interference. Like this isn't our machine to make sure our studio keeps getting money.
Mhm.
Well, let's find an interesting project that we think might be an award ceremony thing, pluck it out of obscurity, give it everything it needs to succeed, market it towards success.
Yeah.
And A24 started out as a low budget, like creator driven platform that now makes almost the only interesting movies that get made in the past few years.
Yeah, and we also see in the 90s too, and we've probably talked about this on past seasons or past episodes, the Sundance effect too of all the independent movies that are getting made. We see these auteurs who are coming out that are like the Tarantinos and the Paul Thomas Andersons and the Linklaters and all these guys that are coming out of the 80s into the early 90s. Soderbergh, another one to in like how they changed the game a little bit and kind of goes in. Those would be like that. It's like Miramax picking up these projects of people. This is the A24ification of these things. So,
well, it's just like there's an indicator lag, like in the countercultural movements of the 60s, but the 60s American movies being made are not paying attention to anything going on politically. There may be great movies. Sound of Music can be a great movie, but it's very like couched into what audiences were happy with in the 50s, not what's going on in the 60s. And there's this indicator lag going on where the 70s movies with the New American Cinema Group, Coppola, and then leading into Scorsese and other people like are changing that a lot, but it takes a minute. And so I do feel like in the middle of the 90s here, we do have a burgeoning American independent cinema movement. A rip, like you said, Sundance, ripped to Robert Redford, a real one, now creating a newsworthy storyline of what movies are good before the Oscars even get to bite at them. And you have the Linklaters and Tarantinos and Soderberghs doing really cool, interesting stuff, but the Oscars are a lagging indicator. Like they catch up late to those trends.
Yeah, and you always see these outliers every year with the Oscars. I think of 2019 with Parasite winning Best Picture there. You always see these outliers, or Everything Everywhere at Once a couple of years ago, like these weird, like out of the box movies that end up winning, and some of them rightfully so winning, but then it kind of like returns. Like we may get a year we might get Moonlight, and then the next 2 years we get Green Book, and not to beat up on Green Book. Yeah, like these ones that aren't kind of go in the face of what we just rewarded here. So you see a lot of that with the Oscars, and like you said, out of the 60s, especially the 60s, you see some duds in the 60s that probably shouldn't have. I think like
MGM musicals, like in the midst of riots in Detroit and stuff, and Vietnam gearing up, and JFK's assassination. They're still and that, like if you watch those going back in time and just see them in a vacuum, a lot of them are really great. Like they're really good art, but they're just not like responding to the cultural moment.
Right.
The last thing I'll point out is I think when we first had the podcast this month, I was surprised that Fargo got so much love in its time. I didn't expect it to be hated. I just didn't expect it to be nominated for Best Picture. And I do think that's maybe signaling a change of we'll take some weirdness, some chaos, some postmodern relativism with our English patient as well.
Yeah, it is unique to, and I love that you brought up the 60s because of like it being that cultural, touch point in the like to go back and look at the 60s and what won and what was nominated and compare that to today and like see to the 90s ones and kind of see as we get further into the 90s what starts to get nominated even in today. Like I've watched all the I think I've watched all the Best Picture winners for the most part, but like watching like a movie like Tom Jones. You ever seen Tom Jones?
No.
It is a 1963 movie that won. I'm sure there are better movies that came out that year. It is not great, but definitely something that falls on the line of like a not as good. Gosh, what's that movie you love by Kubrick?
Well, you got to narrow it down, I guess.
It's the Renaissance era. Yeah, Barry Lyndon. Yeah, it's like a tame version of Barry Lyndon.
Oh yeah, okay.
And coming out in the 60s, and then of course My Fair Lady, Sound of Music, those kinds of things.
And then you also think that when you're a fan of like Hollywood history, that 60s are the like failing late empire like glut of old Hollywood's going crazy, doing tons of drugs, all being evil whatsoever. But like we're still making big epic movies. We're still making our Cleopatras and Ben-Hur kind of stuff as if it was 1940 still.
Yeah.
And then the 70s kind of collapsed that. I mean, Hollywood obviously exists as a celebrity, you know, a mecca of what it is, but it is no longer the glitz and glam, the stars are out tonight, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. And just like, again, I don't know why I'm stuck on this 60s thing, but like the end of the 60s, you have In the Heat of the Night winning, and then it goes back to Oliver.
Yeah.
And then Midnight Cowboy. And I think that is the like, okay, we're moving for like that is our move into
Cowboy's
the 70s.
huge. Yeah.
It's first X-rated movie to ever be nominated / win for Academy Award. It's a light X rating there. But back then that's all they had. So
no, it's that the movie is devastating and brutal and gross and very real and gritty and sad and deals with so many topics that like wouldn't have touched the Oscars even a couple years before.
But now we're talking about Shine, and we're not talking about Midnight Cowboy. And so let's talk a little bit more about Shine. So this movie came out November 22nd, 1996. It was directed by Scott Hicks, and it was written by I don't know why I didn't write this down.
Jan Sardi.
Jan Sardi, thank you. I don't know why I didn't have that. Jan Sardi wrote this, and the cast includes, it's a big cast. I'm going to go through some of the more prominent characters in this, especially the 3 David Helfgotts that we have. Jeffrey Rush plays David Helfgott, our oldest version of him, probably in his 40s. Alex Rafalowitz as young David Helfgott. Noah Taylor as teenage or adolescent David Helfgott. Armin Mueller-Stahl as Peter Helfgott, the father. Nicholas Bell as Ben Rosen. Googie Withers, which is a fun name to say, as Catherine Pritchard. Don Gielgud as Cecil Parks. And Lynn Redgrave as Jillian. If you didn't get a chance to watch this movie, synopsis for this is not a very good one, but it gives you a glimpse. As a child piano prodigy, David Helfgott's musical ambitions generate friction with his overbearing father, Peter. When Helfgott travels to London on a musical scholarship, his career as a pianist blossoms. That's all I got. That's a interesting way to put this movie. The movie had a budget of $6 million, and just like Secrets and Lies before it, and some of these other smaller movies, are $36 million at the box office, which is pretty good for this kind of movie. So people were still going to the theater and watching movies like this. Now, it was well liked among critics. It has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7.6 on IMDb out of 10, and a 3.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Roger Ebert loved this movie. Another 4 out of 4 for this month. He said his music floods out like a cry of anguish and hope. This is the central image in Scott Hicks's Shine, based on the true story of an Australian pianist who was an international prodigy, suffered a breakdown, and has gradually been able to piece himself back together. The musician's name is David Helfgott. His life story is not as exactly as it is shown here, but close enough, I gather, for us to marvel at the way the human spirit can try to heal itself. Sometimes I have trouble pulling out like blurbs from Roger Ebert's critiques, because most of the time they're not like a lot of critique, and there's a lot of just like repeating what happens in the story to me. And I felt like I was a little disappointed in this review after getting a 4 out of 4. Ron Gonsalves gave this a bad review. He said this movie is really an Oscar sandwich, stale bread surrounding a big piece of ham. Jeffrey Rush, which I kind of like that.
I don't. Yeah, that seems a little too mean, but it doesn't seem inaccurate.
Yeah, it's not inaccurate at all. Now, this movie was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, which is crazy to me. That being Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Film Editing, and Best Dramatic Score, only winning 1, and that was for Jeffrey Rush as Best Actor, which is also interesting to me.
Well, yeah, to add a little onto that, you might have it in your notes too. He was the first actor. He won Best Actor at the Academy Awards, the SAG Awards, the Golden Globes, BAFTA, the British Awards, and the Critics' Choice. and he was the first actor to sweep all
Sweep
five
all
those.
of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And that up against Ray Fiennes for English Patient, Jerry Maguire, Tom Cruise, Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade, which whatever, and then Woody Harrelson for The People versus Larry Flint.
You know, I've never seen Larry Flint, but
I haven't
I might give Jeffrey Rush that. He's definitely in the conversation.
My biggest complaint is that he's not like, I feel like there's another person in this movie that is good and also the main character, and
Yeah.
and I mean Noah Taylor has his own career, but
Well, the Jeffrey Rush situation in this movie is kind of fascinating. I just didn't know this about him. I probably, like most people our age, saw Jeffrey Rush first in Pirates of the Caribbean, and he looked old and he sounded British, and I just assumed until I saw this movie that Jeffrey Rush was one of those British guys, like old school actors, has been doing it for like 70 years, like stage and screen and television and all of it, like about to be knighted kind of thing. But I didn't realize Jeffrey Rush was Australian, one, and that like this is his first film and he didn't have a lot of experience before it, so he kind of like arrived fully formed in this like very intense acting experience and has just had a good career since then. I think he's a great actor. What he does in this movie we'll get into,
right.
But this movie, I do have a little more review. I did ask an Australian friend who was there at the time, and I was like, so was Shine a big deal? And he goes, oh, it was a huge deal because it was won 8 of the AFI awards, like the Australian Oscars. One was nominated for 12 and won 8 and all the big ones. And then he goes, you might know which movies he was referencing. He goes, yeah, it was a huge deal, and then we immediately forgot about it. But he said 1995 was so big for Australian movies that overshadowed Shine a little bit.
I'm trying to think of anything. Like, I know that we've talked about a couple of Australian movies on here before. Muriel's Wedding came out. I think that's 94. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert is like 95. That might have been last year, or 95 or 94. But I was curious about kind of like Australian movies, and then like George Miller obviously is making his movie Babe. Not considered maybe an Australian film, but I mean George Miller is Australian, so
so I'm not sure what he meant by that, but anyways, that was a review straight from an Australian. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was a kid; it was everywhere. We were obsessed." And the next year, nobody talked about it after.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah. Sirens, that's another Australian one we did, was in 93. Thank you, or New Zealand,
but a big come up for Australia in the early 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I am curious of like, is this Australian new wave? Is this what this is for them? So, yeah, I don't think I have anything else legacy wise about this one. So let's just talk about some of the scenes that really stuck out to us.
Yeah, I think I got about 6 important scenes or segments, kind of
what I wrote.
Like 4 acts. You know, I kind of saw like 4 chunks. And the first chunk is obviously this character, David Helfgott. Yeah, David Helfgott as a child. As a child under a very domineering father and a piano prodigy. And the first scene in the middle of that section is him playing the Polonaise early at a talent competition.
Which... maybe you know more about this. I've seen another Australian movie called The Sapphires. It came out in the early 2010s, and it's like a musical comedy kind of thing. Were these talent shows like a common thing during these this time period? Because that's how this Sapphires show starts. It starts out with an Australian talent show in the middle of some little town. Like,
it's strange because you don't know if it's put on by the school or some kind of like piano music society. It does feel like a British thing, although like Australia is far removed from British rule. It's still, inhabited by cultural Brits. I don't know. I don't really know the context for it. I also will point out, like, if you're not paying close attention, you could be forgiven for not knowing this is an Australian film. Nobody has a deep Australian accent. In fact, in the early movies, or part of the movie in this character's childhood, obviously his father is a Jewish immigrant from Poland, presumably before, after the World War II, and kind of has some of that Eastern European, lived through some horrors, kind of a overbearing stoicism and anger. but like it doesn't feel very Australian. Like the streets they're on, the houses they live in almost feel British, and they're like kind of run down, working class, not quite a suburb way. But yeah, this scene in the talent show feels almost older than that. It feels like something in the 30s, like in a like a wooden room that feels half like a church, half like a schoolroom, folding chairs. And there are like officials that say things, but nobody ever says we're the such and such society. And,
right.
You know.
And I mean, the big purpose of this is just so that Rosen recognizes him. He's like, he sees this kid playing the piano and kind of just destroying the piece that he's not destroying in a good way, the piece that he's playing. And you can tell he's like sat through hundreds of these and just is annoyed with everything. And then he hears this. It's like that Johnny Cash in the recording studio moment, you know, like,
it's your cousin Marvin.
Yeah, listen to this.
Yeah. And it's not the most important scene. It's just the most visually striking. It's the first one that everybody's going to remember because it's filmed very well. There's some comedy to it, but you get to see this little kid. His dad's very invested in his performance, and this little kid's kind of a piano genius. And then throughout this section, you find out that he has sisters who plays piano too, and then that the dad is kind of an asshole and is very driving and scolds the kids very easily for dumb, bad things.
Yeah.
But also has moments of tenderness too. Yes.
The dad is an interesting character. He also got nominated for this role for the best supporting actor in this. I don't know if I like the physical, like, obviously I don't want the physical abuse to happen or anything in this, but like, I felt like this movie never really fully knew how to take the dad character and make him overbearing and just like militant and like, hey, this is what we're going to do. You're not going to mess around with this stuff and be that way. And then it like would just throw us into this, moment where he's beating him with a towel. And so like, there was a little bit of me being like, I don't really know how I feel about this because it just seems kind of out of nowhere at times. I get a stern father, but like, I don't know. I didn't really like the characterization of
this movie. And we should say, compared to the other the movies we've done this month, this movie's an hour 45.
Yeah. Love it.
And yeah, which I do love, but then it's like, okay, but you're telling the sweeping biopic and maybe at multiple times in this movie, some cause and effect about what happens to this character, David Helfgott, is implied, but not very convincingly. And so you kind of just have to take it at what it says, that this kind of brief childhood section of the movie, because it's not a full third, even though you get three versions of this character with three different actors throughout his life, that his jerk of a dad is setting all of these things in motions that will eventually lead to things like professional failure and mental health crises and then redemption through all of that suffering. However, his dad is abusive and he is a jerk.
Yes.
It is not shown to such a degree that when you're an hour later in the film, you go, yeah, this all makes sense based on those few scenes I saw earlier.
Yeah.
Which also feel like forever ago, not that trauma can't live a long time.
Right. The body keeps the score. So yeah, the talent show gives us a lot of that. Does a lot with a very little. I really like in the talent show section with the piano not having its brakes put on and rolling the whole time, and him continually playing until it reaches the wall. I really did like that. That part
it's one of those really good touches, like when you're writing a script or you're in a writer's room where you're like little details can carry, a scene that's just kind of good enough will make a scene great and memorable. It's a little piece of comedy in a movie that does have little pieces of comedy throughout.
Some inappropriate, but
and to put a button on the thing about how bad his dad is and how much that causes what's happened. You don't see the dad very much after the first section. And if there were conversations with him or there are little moments that reference him, but if there was more of him in one way or another, whether hearing his voice in his mind or like attempts at reconciliation that fail, or other memories that he shares about growing up with his father. Instead, the dad just kind of disappears, and at the end is like, oh yeah, all this was because of him. That's kind of weak.
Yeah. We'll get back to him. The second, I guess the second section that I had was him. It was the scene when he runs to Rosen's house in the rain. That was the next one that I had, and that comes after. I believe this is teenage Helfgott at this time.
Yes. So then, I go to like Teenage Helfgott as the second of 4 sections. And I kind of had just a series of scenes. I do think that the rest of this movie, after his dad being, it's kind of interesting to think of it this way: his dad being this domineering thing in the first of 4 sections. The next 3 are kind of dominated, and actually 2 don't come till the end. But there's like 3 important women in his life that aren't.
Right.
I mean, we could talk for an hour about his mother and why because I forgot, I didn't notice her the first time I watched, and then she was there a lot the second time, but she didn't say or do anything.
She doesn't say or anything. Yeah, she's not that important.
And at the point when this movie's made, we'll get into it later. This is based on a real person. That mother was still alive. That might have been why they made her a little more silent in the film. But he has 3 women throughout his life that kind of recognize his sensitivity and genius and his need for a little more nurturing and patience than other kids or people. And the first one is based on a real Australian poet, Pritchard.
Yes, Catherine Pritchard.
Yeah. So I kind of had that. And that and The Tutor give him some adult confidence.
Yes.
And there's some like driving by his father. You're going to win. You're going to succeed. You're going to be the best pianist ever. There's a pretty devastating scene in there where he's so stressed out. He like just sits in a bath until he like defecates in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then his father finds him and, calls him nasty and gross and pathetic for doing that, which obviously it's a very intense reaction to stress. Like that's
and we do get something from the mother before this where we do know that like he still wets the bed, and like just like almost like a throwaway line that we get from the mom that's like, oh yeah, he still wets the bed. How can he do any of this stuff on his own?
And that is another problem with this movie. The consistency to which this character is unable to take care of himself is confusing.
Yes.
Is he just a nerdy, sensitive artist type? Or is he intellectually deficient so much that he has a trouble taking care of himself?
And I know that sometimes mental illness, obviously mental illness does not always work the way that, it's not something that you have the entire time. Sometimes it's triggered. Sometimes it's brought on by maybe electroshock therapy, or maybe it's brought like something happens to do this. But it did cause me to be confused a lot of the time in this, especially because we do get 3 what appears to me like very different David Helfgotts.
Yes.
And I think that each one of them are doing a great, like that child actor, I think is really good.
He was a really good kid actor. Yeah.
Just solid kid acting in this. Mm-hmm. And he, I don't know. They didn't seem like the same person to me.
I kind of agree. And I don't think that the up and down portrayal of his capacities socially or emotionally or practically is a careful attempt at like accuracy or how mental illness. I do think it's just like a little bit of sloppy writing, or they're not prepared, or they didn't take the time to become prepared about how to write mental illness very well. So then that leads to more confusion, like we had about the dad throughout the movie, of how much of this is a diagnosable thing versus a nervous breakdown, which is also diagnosable, versus like this movie being like confusing. Yeah.
Yes, because I even before I watched this, I was like, okay, this movie's about autism. That's what I meant. Like that's what I thought. Like I was like, oh, it's about this autistic pianist from Australia who has some issues. And
is it about creative genius, autism? Is it about abuse? Is it about schizophrenia?
Is it about schizophrenia? Yeah. Like what is this about?
You really don't know, and the movie will tell you all 3 or 4 at different times, and you just kind of have to ride it out. Which makes, I think, one of my reviews of this movie is that it's a really like nice watch, but that it kind of collapses after you've watched it once.
Yes. I can't imagine watching this again. So
yeah,
good on you. Not that it was that bad. Like you said, this is not a rewatchable movie in my mind. Like,
no, I agree. I rated it very low rewatchability, but I didn't think I've rated, we'll get to it. I didn't rate it super low in quality either. So anyways, so he's kind of increasing. He's getting some of these opportunities to go study in the US, and his dad won't let him. But then he gets like all the way up to finally getting the opportunity to go study piano in London.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big dramatic kind of a final scene between him and his dad where he won't let him go, and you're killing your sister's brother. You will one of the worst lines in the movie he says to him is like, what does he say? You'll never be a son again if you leave.
Yeah.
You'll never be anybody's son, I think is what he says.
Yeah.
which is like a horrible way to say we disown you. Like that, this part of your humanity will be lost forever is crazy. But he ends up going anyway under like murky details, but he ends up going to London.
Yeah, we don't find out how he gets there. We don't find out any like who puts this all together. We assume, I guess, that Rosen, his teacher, that he has, been put into the.
There's one scene that implies he's getting like a stipend.
Yes.
Because he has some friends for 2 seconds, but his friends are kind of taking advantage of him because he gets his check and he's like, "Oh, let me help you cash that." And they go to a strip club. They don't seem like they're outright bullying him because they're like, "Hey, a drink up, buddy, have a cigar." Like they're kind of homies, but then they disappear right after that scene.
Yeah. Well, I also think that we're meant to know that like he is talented and he is thriving kind of at this school, and that he is kind of a prodigy when it comes to the piano and
that's
everything.
Like that classic thing that's not too deep in this movie, but that happens where there's like one stodgy professor being like, "This kid's a mess. He doesn't have the discipline or the fortitude to be great at piano," and then John Gielgud, which we can say is like one of the most celebrated actors of all time. He's pretty good in this movie. He's not amazing, but he's like second only to Laurence Olivier in British stage in the 20th century. Like this guy's a big deal. He's knighted and everything. And I liked his performance in this well enough. But he's the guy who's like, I don't know. I think this kid's got moments of genius, and he just needs to like the right kind of special attention to flourish.
And we find out like, I didn't find it. I was like, why is this guy so special in this movie? And we don't even find out until like little moments with David. Like you get more from David than you do from the actual Cecil from this. And you find out like, oh, he had a stroke and he can't play because he lost the use of his left hand or something, one of his hands because of the stroke on that side of his body. And so that also gives us more context of why he is putting so much of himself into David and wanting him to, I love the scene when he's trying to get him to learn. He's like, basically, don't learn the notes, but learn the notes and then forget the notes.
He's like, learn the notes. And he's like, but why are you focusing so much on the notes? You got to play. And then David's like, okay, learn the notes, then forget them. He's like, exactly. This is also where like you get it in a way. That will be huge later. Childhood David does not have vocal tics. This kid, in a nervous way that I would never have assumed was like evident of some mental or social disorder, has these kind of muttering, repeating vocal tics that start to happen, where he kind of has to he almost has the need to repeat something somebody says or to respond to it or to reword it, even while that person's still talking. You see a little bit of that happening here. But again, not to the degree in the second section, adolescent David feels just like a nerd, just like a sensitive nerd who like is very sweet, but a little scared, a little out of his depth, and maybe on the spectrum in his talent and his social awkwardness, but not like somebody who needs help to be alive.
But yeah, and you also get those moments where you see him kind of like reach out to other, like his schoolmates or anything like that. He has normal relationships, like he runs into a girl and he kind of flirts with her a little bit. He even at the little competition thing that he has where we think maybe we'll have like a rivalry, a piano rivalry in this, and he loses that competition to the other kid, and he's just like, no, he's great. Congratulate. There's nothing there. There's no like rivalry. There is no antagonism.
Also, this character is never, like we'll see later, he could be frustrating. He's never bad ever. This character from childhood to the end of the movie is never deceitful. He's never angry. He's never selfish.
He's a little touchy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, not in a way that's malicious, right?
No.
Only in a way, because he's not here. It's only after his mental illness fully shows up that he gets a little touchy, and it's very clear. It's crazy how okay everybody is with it, but it doesn't feel like it's his fault. So yeah, he's kind of perfect throughout all this. I think this movie would be better if you took this time in London and made it a lot bigger, and you took the end of the movie and made it smaller. I think you needed to see him have a relationship that failed and friendships that were difficult, and more interactions with his father back home, trying to get in touch with him as adolescent David. I think that would make a lot of this narratively make more sense. But instead, we get half of the movie being the final version of David.
Yeah, which is not my favorite. I actually really enjoy all the royal school stuff. Like the part even leading up to the Rock 3 concert where he crushes the Rachmaninoff third, and which was my next big like scene where he's playing this, and like I think this is. I don't like the slow motion stuff that they do in this, but I love like the focus on him sweating and like him just getting really intensely into this and finishing it, and like his dad listening from in Australia and like all these, like I think that is so good. I think that.
So yeah, this movie visually is boring until random moments when it's like visually arresting. There are like crazy. I had a list of about 10 shots in this, and in this scene, the performance scene, but there's stuff. Yeah, there's stuff like water. I don't. There's crazy shots in it.
There's so much water in this movie.
There's so much water.
I was like, "Where's Leo DiCaprio? He loves water."
But like showing the Steinway where he's playing with his fingers stretching over it, the sound goes in and out. The slow mo falling over is like filmed crazy. Like it looks insane. It belongs to this movie. So there are those moments. Even I said after he was drinking and he wakes up asleep on the Lions in Trafalgar Square in London. Like just looks gorgeous, but most of this movie doesn't look like it's directed very tightly at all. Like it doesn't look like it's meant to be a visually arresting scene. Even the Polonaise scene at the beginning looks like a really pretty movie, but the other scenes don't.
And I wonder too, because if you're doing a movie about a pianist or anything, like I think of some of the ones that we've seen, whether it's Maestro or The Pianist or any of those things. And even when I worked for a symphony, for anybody that's like people want to see the hands. That's the most important part. Like people in the audience want to see the hands. Yeah. And so if you're making a movie about a piano player, to me, I want to see action on the hands, and which we get in the third half or in the third part of this with older David Helfgott. And I wonder if it's because Jeffrey Rush is actually playing the piano and this kid isn't. And so they have to use like hand doubles for those scenes and things. So I wonder if it had anything to do with not focusing as much on the hands in this. Like we do get hand shots. Don't get me wrong in this, but like, I think that's probably why they did the slow-mo in that scene. And obviously that's coming to like the nervous breakdown part of it and everything. But I wanted more hand stuff. I'm in the hand stuff.
That makes sense. Cause the piano playing, there's a time later, I think in like the finale where you don't even get to see him play piano. It's like his triumphant return and he doesn't even play. And that's Jeffrey Rush who like is able to do the hand doubling stuff very well.
Yeah.
So that felt weird. Oh yeah. Also, just like the Rock 3 is a metaphor here. The Rachmaninoff piano concerto, third piano concerto, is something his dad teaches him, and his tutor's like, that's too hard. It's the hardest thing in the world. And then his tutor at London has a big relationship with it. And then this is now finally him pushing to be able to do something extraordinary as a pianist by doing the Rachmaninoff third piano well, and he does it, and then he passes out right after completing it. And I guess we think that's due to stress from him working so hard, but that wasn't really shown to us.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if it was like, okay, I did it. Is this the trigger? Is this like, is my abuse coming out? Is my trauma coming out because I've played this? And
whether it's his father in trauma or his like overwork on a mind that can't take that kind of discipline, we have to supply that answer because the movie doesn't give it to us.
Yes,
not beforehand and not afterhand.
No. And then like after we get The Rock and then him getting electroshock therapy, which I was a little muddy on too. Like,
yes, because it's the only thing that makes the rest of the movie make sense to me, like health-wise.
That's what Alyssa kept telling me, and I was like, I don't know what happened. And Alyssa's like, I think he got electroshock therapy.
He definitely
and
did.
Now he's
you get like 10 seconds of that, and they never mention it. And the next time we see him, he's Jeffrey Rush, and he has, a bunch of symptoms that he never had before.
No.
He seems to very like decreased in executive functions, like the ability to be on time, to dress himself, to keep a clean house, to live safely. He mutters and has lots of vocal tics. His eyes are half droopy and half closed. He gets lost at other places. Like he's full on in into a very different mental health state than he was in the first half of the movie. And I think the electroshock therapy is a good reason in this movie why he becomes that way, but you only see it in a montage for like 10 seconds.
And nobody gives you a diagnosis of anything. And like, I know that I don't need things spelled out for me all the time, but I'm like, yeah, like That's the only, like, I'm sitting there wondering the whole time because the other two Davids are nothing like this at all.
Well, you get all these women too who are taking care of him throughout the rest of the movie and talking to him, and there's not like one conversation that like, oh, like he doesn't find a magazine and go, oh yeah, the shock therapy, it's bad. Research says it's bad, and I was like, yeah, was it bad for you, David? And he was, oh, horrible. It took everything away. Like, so like a couple lines there could really clear that up.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up
the.
What's that?
You did a good job.
Oh, good. Yeah.
That was good improv. That was work.
Yeah, right. That's it. They wouldn't have taken much more. Yeah. But like, I looked up the person this is based on has schizoaffective disorder. I'm not a mental health professional, but like knowing a little bit about those things, schizoaffective disorder is kind of is less paranoid more often, less delusional than like full-on schizophrenia is. But an affective disorder is like depression typically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like deep depression that gets so bad it leads into some reality bending things. But people with schizoaffective disorder, again, I'm not a professional, like don't usually have this like level of low functioning or permanent symptoms that are coming out constantly like this.
Well,
it feels like Tourette's and intellectual disability, or electroshock therapy, trauma, like brain trauma.
Well, and his wife said, "Oh, he's been misdiagnosed, like that he was misdiagnosed for years, and that it was strictly just autism. It wasn't any of the
autism presenting through these other things like the ECT brain damage or like trauma and stress and all of that. Absolutely makes sense, but it's a huge jump. And in 1996, Australia are not like ready to actually put a name on what happened.
Right,
something happened.
So I don't know what to think about the performance. One, Jeffrey Rush, I've seen pictures of David Helfgott now, who's like in his late 70s, and Jeffrey Rush looks like him and looks it like in the pictures that I've seen. I haven't watched any interviews with the actual David Helfgott, but it seems like he's portraying him the way that he is. So
yeah, and then we could talk about this being his first real acting gig, and he is acting really hard, and it could be off-putting to some viewers, I think. And maybe it's too much for them, or it's kind of irritating for a movie, not for a person. But you can also see people being like, "Oh my God, he was amazing in that movie! Like the things he did with that character were amazing." So that's one of those things that like goes both ways. But he is full on muttering, twitching, joking, laughing. Sometimes the script does a really good job of making him not make a lot of sense, but then make just enough sense that you can the characters and you can follow what he's eventually getting to. I do like that. I think his like ramblings are very well written.
Yeah,
that they're worth paying attention to and not just nonsense.
This is definitely a subtitle movie too.
Yes.
Yeah, please put your subtitles on if you're watching this. So the next scene, I think, one, we get it at the beginning of this movie, but then we kind of get it fully realized at in the third act of this movie, where he happens upon this restaurant, this local Australian restaurant, where they're at. I don't know if it's Perth or Melbourne. I don't know.
Perth is the only place I remember being mentioned at some point.
Yeah, I feel like Perth
where he grew up or where he is now or what.
But it's Moby's is the name of it, and he comes in, and I guess he's kind of been a fly. Like he showed up a couple times, and they're kind of used to him now being around. But then, like the owner's like, "Oh yeah, play us a song on the piano," and
he's such a dick. But the other staff are also way too nice. Not like they're too nice. It's just like not realistic how much they're like, oh, what a charming, muttering, like walking in the rain, doesn't know where he is kind of guy this is.
He's only grabbed my chest like 4 times tonight. Like, let's just let it go. And then he plays Flight of the Bumblebee in front of an entire restaurant full of people, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is the guy.
Yeah. Which we have to point out, part of the trivia section, that this movie was originally titled Flight of the Bumblebee, which I think refers to that song, that famous piano piece that people love and know, but also a bumblebee presumably looking like it doesn't know where it's going, but there's some crazy amount of genius going on behind the scenes, and that life is sometimes a circuitous route to get to where you end up needing to be, is a way better title than Shine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if
there's like 4 reasons why the Flight of the Bumblebee is a good title for this movie, and Shine doesn't make any sense other than he eventually learns to shine with his talent.
Maybe he's got the shining.
I kept thinking of that too. Yeah.
He's got the shine. And this is kind of where the whole premise of this movie comes from is the scene where he is in the restaurant because the director of this movie, Scott Hicks, saw David Helfgott performing at a restaurant in Australia. And so this is where the idea for this movie even came from, is that he actually happened upon him in this restaurant playing. So
Right. And that is an appealing part of the plot. Like, and there's been articles and documentaries of like stumbling across like once great rock musicians that are now like, bussing tables somewhere. What happened to them, or man, this person who seems kind of crazy, there's a lot going on inside them and in their past, and they have this amazing talent. And then showcasing that, I think, is always a pretty compelling story. You get a little bit of that too, because the next scene that I had starred was important for the plot, is where he's in an assisted living facility. And like, I think at some point it's even mentioned that he could go live on his own, but he just doesn't want to, or has nowhere to go. So he's still there, but he meets this woman, Beryl, who's playing piano for the patients there, and just starts reacting to the piano. And she finds out, oh, you're David Helfgott. I used to be a huge fan of yours. That's crazy. How are you? Do you want to play piano? And he's like, I'm not supposed to. The doctors say it'll be bad for me. But she realizes that he's fine and just needs like some help to live, and kind of adopts him into her house. It is like the second of three like saintly women who like kind of take care of him throughout this movie.
I do find this rather this section rather amusing, because she gets him into her house, and then she's like, I can't take care of this dog anymore. I have to take it to the pound or give it to somebody else.
Well, in this whole section, he will be a terror to everybody around him, and they all love it. Nobody ever for a second, like, he wrecks her house multiple times. And it's like flooding the bathroom, and like leaving like, gas stoves on and stuff. And she's like, oh, that crazy piano player.
I had the old David.
And it's like, I guess the movie's not about like their journey, or there's not enough room in an hour 45 to give them an emotional journey, but it seems a little strange. And then the fact that we spend too much of this movie on this part of his life seems strange too.
Well, we got to get to his astrologer wife.
Yes, because that's the strangest of all. She's really cool. The character is cool.
Redgrave, yeah.
The actor is cool. It does not make sense that she and him develop or can sustain an adult romantic relationship, but that happens and they get married.
Yeah, it is very unique. She is the friend of the person that works at Moby's, and she just comes and she's engaged to a man and is an astrologer, and she's going to read his chart. And it's, oh my God. This is weird.
It's strange. Now, I mean, you can go with the movie. The movie's not trying to do anything strange. It's trying to make it sweet and nice and fulfilling, that David gets to have this partner. And I think that that's a reflection of what the version of the story they wanted to tell about this real life woman and this real life man. But the way that all the choices that the movie like has made up till now about how to portray David, make it weird. Just make it weird.
It is so weird. And I don't think we get to embrace how weird this relation, like Lynn Redgrave is great. Like, famous actress, stage and screen. She does a great job, but like, I know who this person is in real life. Like I can picture her. She's almost 20 years older than David. She's an astrologer. Like it, and I don't think that can be captured on screen and make a compelling love story.
Yeah, I mean, and all they do is they make her and everybody else around adult David so deeply charmed by him. Everything he does is so deeply charming to them that all of this makes sense, and there's no questions that need to be asked, because who wouldn't fall in love with this like beautiful, beautiful spirit? And that's kind of where this movie fails a little bit, is to try to tell this extraordinary, singular, unique, once in a lifetime type of person, but kind of fails to convince me of that's what you're showing me. But everybody else around is acting like the movie wants it to, like. And shout out to Chad. A wild turn of events. Nobody would guess that at the end of this movie, if you went in cold, he was going to get a wife. Like, nobody thought that's what was going to happen at all.
Especially like, just the turn of, like, she's like, oh yeah, I'm engaged, and I'll to a rich man, and I'm gonna go back to him. And then David all of a sudden's like, consult the stars.
Yeah,
They'll tell you whether or not you should
and then
marry
she
me.
does, and that's also weird. I didn't actually catch that part till the second watch, but she actually is up all night with notes all around her on 1996 computer technology, looking at star charts and planetary alignments. And she's like, you know what? I probably shouldn't marry that investment advisor. I probably should marry this guy.
According to when he was born, on what date, he's this rising and this. It fits too perfectly.
Yeah.
God, chart girls. Shout out to you.
Shout out to everyone I've met's been a pretty decent person, but
yeah.
I respectfully disagree with your religion.
Gotta love them. I know a couple, so we're good. So yeah, then he has this relationship with Jillian, and his dad dies, and that's it, kind of, right? Do you have anything else?
Yeah, it's a long tale of now that we've set up this movie, let's Jeffrey Rush do a 1-act play as this person. It's strange.
Yeah, and we don't get a prologue or an epilogue or anything too much, because honestly, he probably hasn't done much with his career until after this movie comes out, and then he records some albums and things in real life.
The kind of triumphal moment at this is after the marriage, he has one big performance, and whether it's the memories of all the people in his life or all the people in his life other than his dad are in the audience, and he crushes it, and he's so happy, and he finally gets to be back at that moment where his life went on pause and pick up where he left off. But now with the happiness and support of people around him.
And then David Helfgott, fun fact, goes to play on a Silverchair song.
Was he really?
That's one of their best songs. It's called Emotion Sickness. It's on Neon Ballroom. Great song. Everybody should go listen to it.
Right. I will point out part of the legacy reviews section, or maybe part of trivia section. I did read one person who was like, yeah, this movie's fine and all, a piano, person in the piano world. This movie's fine and all, but he's not really that good. And a lot of people work really hard and are a lot better, and they probably deserve a movie.
But he's Australian.
But he was talking about Australia. He actually said Australian pianist. Yeah, there's a lot of pianists in Australia who might deserve a little more attention and support. But it's kind of funny how we tell stories. We don't care that you worked really hard and became the best. You have to do that to impress us, and you have to have some human element. Right?
Sometimes you got to shit in a tub, and then
sometimes you got to shit in a tub. That's way more interesting because most people who are watching movies like this, like me, are piano casuals. I'm not there to be impressed with how good this person was at piano. I need a narrative to make me care about that. So, but yeah, somebody said what I assume a bunch of other people thought were yeah, he's a good pianist, but there's a ton of good pianists.
He didn't. Yeah, I get it. Well, did you have a favorite character, or was there a scene stealer for you?
Yeah, I guess the women, all three of the women I like a lot.
I really liked Catherine. I thought Catherine was
Catherine Pritchard. Catherine Pritchard. Yes, I liked her a lot, and I wish she was in the movie more.
Yeah, and we don't even get a good we get that sadness, finding out that she died, but he doesn't get anything. Let's give a little bit of fiction to this. I don't know how much fiction obviously we're getting some fiction here, but give him something that other than the picture that he gave her. There needed to be something more personal that she gave him in death.
Yeah. And like I said, this movie, it's written by committee and then brought together because you don't get enough of the dad stuff after the dad. You don't get enough of the ECT stuff. You don't get enough of these people in the past, being part of this person's life still. It's so isolated in the sections that you have to stretch back and remember to make new scenes have worth.
Yeah. Googie Howser. I had put David too as my favorite character in this. I really liked his whole section of the movie, honestly.
David too. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say adolescent David, I could agree, is one of my favorites. Yeah. I don't think Jeffrey Rush does a bad job at all. He's very charming. You can't turn your eyes away, but it didn't blow me away having seen lots of different performances of mental health issues. His didn't blow me away, but he's really fun to watch.
Yeah. I kind of wish Jillian would have been like leaned more, like heavier into the weirdness, because I know that lady's weird in real life. I know she was freaking strange.
And maybe it's just kind of weird that David needed. It doesn't have to be bad weird necessarily.
No, it's good. It's like healthy weird, but like maybe healthy. But like I know those people, and they're good people, but they're freaking weird. All right, any quotes that stuck out to you? Any lines from this movie?
I only had a single quote I wrote down.
Give it to me. It
actually is just I got to get her name right finally for the first time. Her full name is Susanna Pritchard, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She reads a poem in the movie, and she was a real woman who was a poet, and it's one of her actual poems. And it was pretty short, but I thought it was a really good poem. She says, "To you, all these wild weeds and windflowers of my life, I bring, my Lord, and lay them at your feet. They are not frankincense or myrrh, but you are Krishna, Christ, and Dionysus in your beauty, tenderness, and strength." It's just a good poem.
That's a good poem. Religion is nonsense. It's also a gold mine if you know where to dig. And that's Rosen, whenever he's telling him to get David a bar mitzvah so he can get some money.
Yeah, that's like a cool little sequence. It's kind of funny and cynical, but like it doesn't really work that well. It could have been funnier, I guess.
I just like the line.
Huh?
I just like the line.
Yeah, it's a good line. Absolutely. Yeah.
One of David's muttering things when he's an adolescent. Somebody says something about Rachmaninoff. It's Cecil. He's talking to him about the Rachmaninoff, and David says it's a mountain, the hardest piece you could everest play. I loved that. That was cute.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I had was David talking to Roger, and David says it's a tough game, isn't it, Roger? And Roger says it's a blood sport.
I like that moment a lot.
Yeah, that was good. And I really liked the ending scene where David goes to a concert of Roger's, and is like enjoying the hell out of it.
It was like maybe like a thrill moment. Yeah, because it was well done, Roger. He's so excited to see this old kind of rival. Again, he doesn't get developed a lot, but but it's a person again that he has every reason to maybe like, that's my nemesis. It was attacking him that made me stressful. It was the intimidation or the rudeness of him that like made me stressed out. But it wasn't. He was like, even when they were kids, he's like, this is crazy, right? And Roger's like, yeah. And he's happy for him to win then, and he's happy for them to succeed later.
And that's a unique thing about David. He doesn't have enemies. He like, even his dad is not his enemy. He has to make that tough decision that he's like, I want to further my career. I want to try something and be bigger than what I am here in this house. So it's a struggle for him to even leave his family and his dad and everything, because he does love his dad. Even when his dad has chastised him and does it, he's still like, and I know that's a big portion of like abusive relationships. It goes into that kind of thing, but there is a love there that David has, and you see that, and maybe that's part of the charm of David, is that he doesn't have enemies. Even the guy that hates him from the Moby's restaurant, like, he's never malicious towards that guy. He doesn't even realize that guy exists, honestly. He's just playing his music, and he enjoys the niceties of life. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So it is a unique thing about David.
I do like that as a choice. I think that makes it a more creative movie than it otherwise is, because there are other movies like that, but to write a movie where a character goes through things but has the same good character, like not like a Frodo Baggins kind of way against ultimate evil, like, or Luke Skywalker kind of way, but like in a grounded way. This is not about this person making mistakes and learning lessons. This is about this person just being like beat up by life and surviving.
Yeah. Well, we've already kind of leaned into it on the thrill, or biggest laugh, cry, scare, thrill, and biggest emotional moments in the movie.
So for thrill, all I really had was The Rock 3. The performance of it is really great. I would add, maybe as a cry moment, one of the best moments he has with Jillian is... I
don't remember which one it is. I assume it's Jillian, but...
Yeah, it probably is. When he's she can understand his babbling and helps him write a letter to his old teacher. I think was like a really well-written scene of how she had patience, but understood there was something worth having patience for, and then reached it. And then when he was being reached for, kind of came out of his fog a little bit and was able to be a little more coherent. And that was like a good model on how like that kind of relationship can work. Although it was also a scene that proves that maybe this isn't the kind of person that you can marry.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things where it's like, this person can't write a letter. Like maybe, maybe they're not, like capable of having a marriage. But I mean, I don't want to be too judgmental on that front, but it definitely raises questions.
Right. How you feel about the trampoline scene?
I think it's funny.
It is funny. That's what I had
in the movie. Yeah.
That's what I had as my biggest laugh was the trampoline scene. This guy hated wearing pants. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Just hanging dong in front of these kids and like
and these old women, these little kids don't care at all. And I'm like, man, it must be nice not to be in America.
That's right, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's all right. And then I had Catherine's death. I even though I wanted a little bit more, like, there is something to be said about like the fact that she doesn't give it, like that her estate or whatever doesn't have something specifically for David, even though she's like David's biggest fan and all these things. Like he just gets all these things that he had given her, and from their relationship together and just collecting those. And that obviously that was one of like biggest cry I think for me was just in that section there.
Yeah, my last one is actually Catherine too, and it was her telling. It could have been written out as a whole quote. I just didn't take the time to do that. But her telling him a story about her dad, who was a writer, and how she was playing around and spilt ink all over his papers. And then the dad comes in and is angry because he's a writer and she's ruined all this stuff. And then she said, "Leave me alone. I'm writing now," or something like that.
Yeah,
and it melted her dad's heart. And she says, "He cuddled me breathless." It was such a sweet story. It was about an angry father, and you think it's going to be like, yeah, I also had an overbearing, angry father, but it's also about how that anger can melt away and support her. And it was really beautifully done. And then she ends up like hugging him in his stress as adolescent kid who wants to go to London, but his dad won't let him. And like, I think he says right after they goes, "My dad's not going to cuddle me."
Yeah,
it was a really good scene.
Yeah, that scene was good. Catherine was great.
Yeah.
Googie. Anything else from the emotional moments that you did? All right, most ridiculous moments.
We kind of talked about them, the way that the mother was around but never had an opinion about anything. And the way he doesn't talk. The sister shows up at one point, and I like that scene a lot when his sister comes and talks to him and says, "Hey, I got to move because my life's moving on. I won't be able to see you as much." But you don't get much from the mother. It's just kind of strange. And we talked about the astrology of it all. But the last one I had was just, it's one of those things that you may not be able to hear now, but on my second viewing, when the way Jeffrey Rush does this, he sounds like a Rick and Morty character, and I could not stop hearing that. Like, just to turn up like one little volume thing, and he's just a Rick and Morty character. Well, okay, all right, let's do this, let's do that. Like, it's very, very funny.
Mr. Beasties, look at me.
Yeah. Oh my God, Rick! I don't know, Rick. What are we doing, Rick?
We had talked about most of my WTF moments, the boob grabs and like his illness and like the indefinition around like what it is and how it came to be. I think those are some of the things that add to it as well. Best music moment or score. This movie was scored by, his name is David Hirschfelder. And obviously has a lot of piano in this. A lot of famous works are in this movie as well.
Well, and I think Helfgott does a lot of the piano work on the soundtrack, which is very cool. Yeah.
And then I think that like I think the Rock 3 is the thing that stands out the most.
Yeah, the Polonaise is cool. Lon Campanella's in there and it's cool. In between that, there's
Bumblebee.
Flight of the Bumblebee is great. There's I did just make one note that there are moments in the movie where the actual score comes in. And it's very dramatic and heavy-handed, like, fucking Voldemort's coming to the school right now. And I was like, all right, maybe like something a little more grounded would be nice.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do it. Who gave the best performance in this movie?
Good. You probably shouldn't. Well, I don't know. There's three great women there. It'd be hard to choose.
It is true. Out of the women, what do we have? Like Was it Catherine?
Catherine, Beryl, and
Jillian.
Jillian.
Yeah. But there, like, I also wanted to add the girl from Moby's.
Well,
She kind of takes him in too.
She was hot. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's the one that cares the least about what David does, I think. Because
he just immediately like, oh, there's a crazy man banging on the window. She's like, how charming. Let him in.
Yes, I love this guy. And then like lets him around her kids, and he's like, all this shit is all over her house and everything. And she's like, oh yeah, David's in the back naked with my kids on the trampoline. We'll go see him. He's great.
I think I screwed up then because I thought that was Beryl the whole time.
No, I think Beryl is different. I think she's the.
Oh, that makes sense because I was like, I didn't think Beryl had kids, and all of a sudden she had 3 kids to take care of.
Beryl, it's Beryl first because she finds him at the asylum, and then he goes to live on his own. Like she can't stand him at her house, so she kicks him out and takes him to this other place with the big guy with the
because that's why when you said Jillian's just a friend of the person at the bar, I was like, oh, I guess she was, but I thought she was a friend of Beryl's. I thought that's who introduced her, but that's a different person.
Yeah. So,
well, then I'd marry Catherine and fuck the cafe and kill Jillian.
I think I killed Jillian too.
Yeah.
Sorry, chart girlies.
You should be able to see it coming.
Yeah, she would know. She would know with my Mercury rising, whatever it is, that I'm going to kill her. So yeah, best performance in this movie.
We haven't talked about it much, but I do think there's a lot of good ones, and not a lot of them. They're all kind of equally good. But Armin Mueller-Stahl, the father, I think was a great. I think he was great. He was a really good actor.
I really liked him. I think he balances the role that was given to him very, very well. And in the soft moments, he is so good. And so it made me be like, oh yeah, he's a good dad. And and then obviously he's almost less believable in the
later scenes.
Yeah, later
because he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but he does he looks like Gene Hackman. He does the sternness very real. And he David won to
That would be great. It's so funny. I thought about it. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not allowed.
That's funny. I didn't catch that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, he's great. And then the middle of the night scene when he talks about the Rachmaninoff or whatever, which is another chance for him to just be like, I told you to go to bed. Why don't you do what I do all the time? The devastating, you'll never be somebody's son again kind of thing. He does really well. I liked him a lot.
It is nice to see that, and I was a big fan of Noah Taylor in this. I thought him as the adolescent version of David was really good. He does get nominated for Best Actor from the AFI awards here. Loses out to Jeffrey Rush, but yeah, he does get some love from some of the awards that go on throughout the award season and stuff. So yeah, I really loved him, and I like Noah Taylor. Anytime he shows up in something, I'm always like, that guy Noah, I like you.
I recognized him, but I wasn't sure where from.
Yeah, you've seen him in a lot of things. He's in Almost Famous. He's in what is that Cameron Crowe movie, Vanilla Sky? Those are two that I'm just I think he's a Tim Burton guy too. I think he's in some of his movies as well. He's the dad in Submarine. If you haven't seen Submarine's great.
Okay, I'll check out Submarine.
It's a coming of age movie. It's a great movie. Noah Taylor's great. I didn't know he was Australian. I thought he was British. So
yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, it does. Anybody else that you want to point out?
Nope.
All right. Any recasting that you'd like to do, 1996 or 2026? Before I didn't do any for 96, but can you imagine Dustin Hoffman being in this role after Rain Man?
That's because he kind of wanted to.
Right.
And so somebody his agent must have been like, bro, you can't.
Dude, we can't double down again.
Yeah.
It's 6 years late. It's 8 years later, in fact, after Rain Man.
Well, then, I didn't have good ones for 90. I didn't have good ones for anyone, really, but it's kind of a hard movie to cast. But I guess Robin Williams hasn't done Reign Over Me yet. Is that where he's mentally unwell, or am I thinking of something else? No, The Fisher King.
Fisher King, yeah.
Fisher King. I don't think he's done that yet, so he could probably pull it off pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Sean Penn hasn't done I Am Sam, so I thought both of those in 96 could have done it.
That's who he reminded me of, though. David, that portrayal, I was like, oh, this is I Am Sam.
Very much, yeah. He acts very similar.
very similar to him. So for 2020, I didn't come up with any for 96, like I said, but for 2026, did you come up with anybody?
I think I got some decent ones. Some of them, well, because he was in the Oscars this year, Stellan Skarsgård as the father.
Ooh, that is better. I like that better than the one I had for the dad.
What'd you have?
I had Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. They can do that old world thing, that sternness, but like you kind of believe that there's some good feeling underneath it. It's not just being abusive and asshole.
The problem with Christoph Waltz is I think once you play a Nazi, it's hard to like get out of that Nazi.
Well, I think probably Stellan Skarsgård not. I assume.
I
he
mean,
has.
I'm surely he has, maybe.
Wasn't he in Schindler's List?
Was Stellan Skarsgård in Schindler's List?
Maybe not. Maybe not. That may be a little too early for him.
Has Stellan Skarsgård ever played a Nazi?
He's got the name of a Nazi.
I know his relatives probably were.
Yeah.
I thought this was this is actually an Australian person for the role of David, Cody Smith McPhee, who is probably most recently what is it, the dog movie, the Dane Campion movie, Power of the Dog, that just came out in 2021.
I love Power of the Dog.
Yeah, so the main kid in that is Cody Smith McPhee. He's kind of got like the face structure of Noah Taylor and all these people, and he's Australian, and he's just weird enough that he could probably play it. So I went with that one. And then for Jillian, I put like Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about him last week, especially because I wanted more of the London sequence and the London teacher. But Jim Broadbent as the like John Gielgud role.
Yeah.
I think he's getting pretty old, but he was also like looks as old as he did 30 years ago. And then for adult David, Mark Rylance, who is a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I think I could see him doing the muttering thing pretty well, but also has that twinkle in his eye and that great smile through some wrinkles. I think could play a good adult David.
Man, where did Mark Rylance come from? Because I feel like he wasn't around. He's almost like the guy from Breaking Bad, like in Malcolm in the Middle. What's Bryan Cranston? Like, where were you for 30 years of your life? When
I don't know, because I first saw him and fell in love with him deeply, like through Wolf Hall is one of my favorite modern books in a trilogy. And when the BBC did an adaptation of Wolf Hall, he played the main character, and I was like, this guy's so good. And I knew the book inside and out, had expectations, and I loved his performance in that. And so then even when I see him later on, a lot of times in movies, I wish he wasn't doing instead of something else. Like I like maybe Ready Player One.
That's what I think of. He's great in it.
Rylance is here. I like it, and he takes that kind of dumb character in that dumb movie and like makes it a lot better.
He just goes full on. I love him in it. And
so I'm sure he's done some like kind of stellar performances I've missed out on. I'd like to look him up, but I'm kind of also waiting for him to get his moment to like remind the world how good he is.
Yeah, I have still never seen Bridge of Spies, which is a Spielberg movie.
I love I'll ever get to that movie.
I'll get to it eventually, but he's supposed to be amazing. I mean, he won for it, so.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah. So it's actually supposed to be a good one. I've never seen that one or the horse movie, War Horse. Maybe someday, though. All right. Now we're into our Did You Know section where we share some fun facts, behind the scenes stories of production, trivia, anything that you learned from this, from doing some research into this movie.
Sure. A few things. Talked about that. I talked about schizoaffective disorder. We talked about Jeffrey Rush doing his own hand double work. The first person who was considered to play his dad was Bob Hoskins. Which is crazy.
Yeah, this is crazy.
You go ahead.
One of the things that I wanted to say or talk about that, well, they never mentioned David Helfgott was actually married before he married Jillian. He had a first wife. They don't even talk about that in this film. It ended within a few years, and that's when he actually married her after returning to Australia from his time in London. And then I guess this is a big deal, or in his family, I don't know, but it never gets mentioned in this film.
Right. I mean, and I'll add, like, the last thing I have really, his family did not like this movie and thought that there was a lot of dishonesty in it. His sister who is in the film, I mean, not as the real sister, but is portrayed, wrote a book and was very vocal that like their father was not like that. That his concern about not letting him leave is that David couldn't take care of himself. He can't go to London alone. Like this kid is not like okay enough to be able to take care of himself, which we kind of see in the movie.
Yeah.
And that though his father was stern, there was always love and reasons behind everything he did. That in the movie, he comes back to Australia and is not allowed back in the family. And that wasn't true, that he was always welcome back. And that like half of the siblings eventually came around and said the movie's fine, but half of them have maintained throughout that like it's kind of, and the mother have maintained throughout that it's like a gross malignment of the father character. I guess it's like, and the director came out and said, nope, and the director and Jillian, who wasn't around for the family stuff, but knows him as his wife, and David have all maintained that it's all fairly accurate. But I guess maybe my sympathies are split, but are always willing to think that Hollywood telling a story and a person telling their own story is a little less, I'm just always willing to give more voice to the people who are like, wait a second, I know you're not listening to me, but this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. So a little bit interesting there. But I mean, like I said, even going into that, we know that his first marriage, when he was married to this person after returning from London, they lived in the family house. So like, that's part of it. That just gets glossed over. So we know that was lie. The screenplay, I wondered about this, but I am not much of a music person. And this could also be bullshit too. But it's divided into movements. As you would like a symphony or symphonic piece or whatever, alternating in rhythm from fast to slow to fast, and then uses standard elements of exposition, development, and recapitulation classically associated with the form. With David Helfgott at the center of every scene, there is no question that the film is conceived as a piece for a soloist playing in conjunction with an orchestra. So don't know if that's bullshit or not, but I wondered
things along those lines that like kind of corroborate that. I think that's really cool. I think that if you want to try something like that, that's amazing, and I would support that. But you have to make the movie wonderful to watch without knowing that, and then be blown away by learning that's how it was structured. So to any degree that like trying to do it that way causes all of the issues I have with this movie, then I'm like, cool, I guess it's neat, but like that just means like you made a symphony instead of a movie, and it wasn't a good version of either to me. You know what I mean? Like, but I respect the boldness. I like the idea of playing with like writing forms and stuff.
Right. There was also I tried to look up stuff about the water and the use of water in this, and I thought maybe that was like his safe space. Like that is where he felt the most comfortable, is within water. But then there were other times in the movie when he wasn't in a safe space, that he was in water, and like a lot of times running out into a rainstorm, or when he's getting beat by his father, or he's in a tub. So like
it's a little mixed.
It is a little mixed there.
Yeah, I thought I saw something that said something about that, but it was like very brief. Like water is a theme in this film, you know?
Yes.
I did see another thing, and I noticed I saw something that pointed out like that his broken glasses are supposed to represent like his different / impaired / special way of seeing the world around him. But I noticed that in that last scene with his father's glasses are broken too in a different way. So like the broken glasses theme's kind of there. By the way, that last scene with his father, I never really understood. Is he really there?
I don't think so.
He's not really there.
I don't think so.
Where he's like helping him open the thing, and they kind of,
I don't really know.
Yeah, both times I watched it, I wasn't sure.
It's muddy. Anything else that you had that we haven't already talked about? No, I don't have anything. All right, like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this movie with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I actually wrote a lot down, and it's pretty easy to make certain connections. Like A Beautiful Mind is kind of an easy one to make. For the overbearing father part of it, The Great Santini, which is a Pat Conroy film, and Robert Duvall plays a really asshole, overbearing father in that movie. And I think The Great Santini is a movie we've forgotten about, but Gen X lives by it. Like it was like it spoke to them, and the book too. So that's kind of a lost movie I would recommend. anybody to go look out, especially Robert Duvall having passed recently. He's
Yeah.
spectacular in that movie.
I love Robert Duvall. I've never seen The Great Santini, so I'm adding it.
Yeah, an emotional biopic that's not about a real person, but it's about a piano player, and it's one of my favorite movies that most people haven't heard of. Is The Legend of 1900?
I think I have seen The Legend of 1900.
It's about a guy who was born on like a steamship, like a Titanic type cruise liner, and never sets foot off that ship in his whole life. He gets abandoned there, and he's just like raised by the crew, and he's a genius piano player and spends his whole life like on that cruise ship. And just it's different scenes throughout his life. It's scored by Sergio Leone with really beautiful piano. I love that movie.
I was wrong. I've seen 1900.
That's Novecento. That's like Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
No, this is called The
Completely different movie.
Huh?
Completely different. When you started saying there was a piano player, I was like, that is not the 1900 film that I know of. So
I want to say it's Adrian Brody, but now I'm scared to say it. So let me look it up real quick. I love this movie. It's not perfect or anything, but like people haven't.
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth. Yes, it is Tim Roth. Spends his whole life on a cruise liner. Is an amazing pianist, but then struggles with like. The movie starts real quick. Who's the guy with the nystagmus? The twitching eyes. Larger guy who's a character actor forever. Anyways, he shows up as a trumpet player when this cruise liner is about to be like destroyed. And he's trying to talk to the people. He's like, I think there's a man on that ship. And they're like, what are you talking about? Everybody's out of there. And he's like, well, I got to tell you this guy's story. And there's about a story about a guy who was born on the ship and would never set a foot off of it. So he's worried that he's going to die while they dismantle the ship kind of thing. Oh, it's so good. I'm off track now.
Yeah, no, this is why I do this. And so I learn about some of these movies. Anything else?
It reminded me of chess stuff. So Searching for Bobby Fischer, but also on Netflix, they just released a documentary about Judith Polgar, who is the most accomplished female chess player of all time. And it's a really well made, slick documentary about her childhood and her like kind of rivalry with Garry Kasparov, with a lot of good firsthand like footage and talking heads. But the crazy thing about the Polgar sisters is that they had a father who they loved and never criticized really publicly, but was like, screw this. My three daughters in like Soviet era Romania, I think, are just going to study chess all day long. Even if girls don't play chess or compete in chess, like I'm just going to homeschool them in chess. And he was trying to prove a theory of his that like, not only could women do these things if they were given support, but that like anybody can become like a genius at something if you get them when they're young and teach them that. And so, yeah, the Polgar sisters are fascinating. They're really cool historical chess players, and that documentary is good.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
I had Beautiful Mind written down as well. I think that one's probably like you said, most obvious one. I think Whiplash is a good one to put on here too. Just with maybe not a father, but a father figure in this being very overbearing and abusive.
I thought about it, but I still haven't seen it.
Whiplash is
I know. Good. I would know. I'll love that movie.
Whiplash is good. Tar is another good movie that came out within the last several years. Cate Blanchett, probably one of my favorite Cate Blanchett performances of all time. Like she's so good and is Lydia Tarr in that movie. Again, just relating back to music. I mentioned The Pianist earlier in the podcast, just for the talent of acting, even if it is Adrian Brody, but learning piano. And
I thought about Amadeus too. I mean, it's not a lot of parallels, but if you like a piano movie,
And then, like I mentioned earlier, the Australian film of musicians, The Sapphires, which kind of starts as, but that one deals with Aboriginal people and starting a soul group in the middle of Vietnam. And it's kind of a comedy. It's kind of a romantic movie. It's a drama. Chris O'Dowd's in it as a love interest in this movie. But really good, interesting thing on Aboriginal culture in Australia. So that's one of those ones that I got from a Redbox randomly, and I was like, "This movie's actually pretty good."
You gotta love those. It's
a
Redbox. Spontaneously discover good movies.
So we talked about it a little bit. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to throw this one on again?
Even when I gave I gave something. I gave Jerry Maguire a 2, and I think I said at the time I was like, 1 means never again, and that feels like I almost know movies what I say would I never watch again. But I gave this one a 1 out of 5.
Yeah.
I don't ever need to see this again.
Yeah, I
I
gave it a
can't
like.
imagine like 15 years being like, Shine, I remember I did that for that podcast. Let's go revisit it. Like, I think I'll just be like, I remember, I'm fine.
Yeah, this one's not a rewatcher for me at all either. I gave it the low score, 1/2, 2, somewhere around there. It's not not a rewatcher. Out of overall, what'd you give it out of 5 stars?
It's 2.5, straight down the middle.
Yeah, I think it is very average. I give it a 3 because I don't understand the way middles work on rating systems, but I am afraid to give movies 2.5s for some reason, even if that is a very average, like middle of the road, perfect
I just
score.
prefer an out of 10 system. So when I'm forced to give a 5 one, I just all right, 2.5 is 5.
Yeah, 2.5 is 5, so it makes sense. So I like that. I like that a lot. Well, Ryan, we have done all of the Oscar movies for the year 1996.
Ooh.
What should have won Best Picture in your mind out of those 5?
I think it's Secrets and Lies as a new movie for me, and it gave it a run for its money. But I think you just have to give it to Fargo for the cinematic voice, uniqueness, and the shape of things to come in terms of film.
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously, I'm with you. Fargo's genius. I think Fargo and Secrets and Lies, which was a joy to watch, and I still am thinking about Secrets and Lies.
Yeah,
Even after having watched it a week or two ago. I love Jerry Maguire. I can't even remember what. English Patient goes below Jerry Maguire for me.
does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about it, and I would rank it Fargo and Secrets and Lies, and then I would really struggle with the bottom 3.
Yeah.
If I put them in one situation, I'd be like, I don't know, like. I didn't like Jerry Maguire. Like, Jerry Maguire doesn't speak to me as much as The English Patient is, but it's probably better.
I don't think the bottom 3 get nominated if I'm redoing the nominations.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a couple movies that I like from this year. There's a movie. I mean, I would put Bound on this list before I would put any of those other 3.
You like Bound that much?
I liked Bound a lot.
Wait, that was the lesbians cheating on the guy, and
yes,
yeah. It was a really fun movie. I don't know. I'd nominate for Best Picture.
I think I'm going with it because I'm like, I don't know. It's a Hitchcocker for me. So
I just thought it was so good and horny, and then all of a sudden, like the two women don't talk to each other for the last hour of the movie.
I love it.
It was great though.
I mean, Crash might even make it up on this list.
I wouldn't hate that. I don't think Crash is a fun movie. I don't love it a lot, but I think that it's interesting enough to be like more important than some of these.
No, there's a couple movies later in the year that I think I would rather have up here. I have done a list. I have a spreadsheet on Google Sheets that's like it goes through all of the Oscars through like the big awards, and then it lets me like I have it set up to where I nominate my own things. Mm-hmm. So if you ever want that, or anybody wants that, I can send that your way.
That'd be cool, yeah. There needs to be a blockbuster on the list, I think. With the 3-week movies being as weak as they are, I don't really care for blockbusters to be nominated every year.
And this is a good blockbuster year.
Was it Independence Day this year?
Independence Day, Mission Impossible, Twister. Like
The Rock there, I think Twister's like a near perfect movie. Like that deserves that more than the bottom 3 here do.
Ransom's on here too. So we've got some good blockbuster movies that could absolutely take an F1 spot anyway. So yeah. If you do want that Google Sheets thing, I will put that in Discord. And thank you for that. But anything that you've watched other than these movies that you would love to recommend to people?
I've been really busy since last week, and I did watch 2 movies though. Nothing much to say. 2025 movies. I watched The Phoenician Scheme and Eddington.
How were both of them? Because they're on my list to watch.
Phoenician Scheme is just more Wes Anderson. His palette's a little different, and the genre's a little different, which keeps it a little bit fresh. But overall, it's not very fresh for Wes Anderson. But that also means that it's very tight and nice. And if you like Wes Anderson, you'll probably like it well enough. But it's not going to surge to the top of like your favorite Wes Anderson films. Mm-hmm. But Benicio del Toro is the main character, and that's kind of one of the biggest charms is that him doing that was great. I might write a little like 3-paragraph thought process I had about Eddington, but comparing that to 2 other movies, I could do it now. I could just write it better. But Eddington, One Battle After Another, and Sinners are 3 movies that I think get a lot of praise for tackling issues that are important. But I think they're all incomplete sentences.
Yeah.
So Eddington's like, do you remember COVID? Do you remember how confused they are? Like how a decent sheriff could be doing the wrong thing in COVID, but also the guy doing the right things, an evil politician who was selling out the town. And then there's all the social media and conspiracy stuff happening. Isn't that crazy? And shouldn't we have learned from that? And then the sentence cuts off, and now it's just like a weird like thriller movie.
Yeah.
Sinners, like, isn't it hard for Black Americans, even out of the like eyes of oppression, to be able to own their own space and their own culture without it being stolen? Sentence ends. Now it's about vampires. And then one battle after another, like, man, how do you resist in a like authoritarian, anti-immigrant, like a white supremacist, like fascist government? Isn't it important for us all to talk about? Never mind, it's just another thriller movie.
Yeah.
And like those three movies, I think, are really, really good, but they all succeed by starting a very important sentence that we all listen to. And then the last hour of the movie's like, fuck it, it's all crazy. And like there's action and like zombies now and shit like that. And I'm like, all right, I kind of see through that now, watching those three movies pretty close to each other, that it's not like an evil trick. It's just kind of a trick because these movies start these questions but don't answer them, which is a real difficult and brave thing to do.
Man, I'd love to read it. If put it out there, I'd love to read it.
Well, that's pretty much it. It was just that. It was just writing that out.
Get into it.
But seeing that thought, like putting those three together, I was like, yeah, man, this is good. This is what we're all thinking about. This is what we all want to see tackled in movies. But all of these movies spend their last hour turning it into a thrill chase rather than giving us answers to what these characters are doing or what they mean.
I thought Eddington was going to be like the Wario to Paddington.
Now that's a movie I want to see. Oh my God, Paddington 4, where there's an evil Paddington,
right?
He goes back to jail because that's when it was at its best.
Yeah. So thoughts, Ari Aster? Like, what are we doing? You've seen Begonia too?
Yeah. That starts to talk about conspiracy theories and then also corporate evilness. And then at the end, that did occur to me at one point. That's another good one. Like, and it brings all of our anxieties and our feelings about living in that world now to the forefront, and then says, all right, now it's a kidnapping thriller movie. Now it's an alien movie. Spoilers, I guess. But yeah, like it starts with those big things that we care about, and then goes into some weird choices that are entertaining, and it makes you think you saw a movie about those things, but you really didn't.
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting.
Which might have been my biggest criticism of Begonia. I liked Begonia a lot, but that's why it was lower in my list, was that it was a pulled punch by the end.
Yeah. Well, you've done a lot better on watching movies than I have. I've watched some duds from 2025. The Running Man.
I want to see it. I'm sure it's
Edgar Wright. Oh my God. And like, I love Edgar Wright. Even his last movie, Last Night in Soho or One Night in Soho, I liked. But this I did not like, and I love the concept of The Running Man. I used to love The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I love this Arnold Schwarzenegger one a lot.
Like that was such a big part of my childhood, was watching that on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and so I really wanted it. I think it could have been so much funnier and leaned into the like. Because I do think that happened in the Schwarzenegger one. There was humor in that one, and I just don't think the Edgar Wright humor was in this at all. And
it's crazy since we did it.
There were moments of it, like Michael Cera's character, great in the movie, and loved him. Should have been in 45, maybe 50 more. He should have been the main character. Shit, I don't know, but. Yeah, so I watched that. I watched the Anaconda movie, which was freaking terrible. That movie sucked.
Yeah, I believe that. I don't even care about the first Anaconda, to be honest.
But then I, some other ones that I do want to give a shout. I watched Blues Brothers, the 1980 Blues Brothers movie. Great comedy. And like, if you do watch that movie or want to go back and watch a movie like that, just like the amount of money that went into just the amount of like crashing cars in that film, it's got to be the biggest budget spent on crashing cars and like practical effects and all that.
I read some, I don't know remember any of the good trivia about the car scene at the end, but there is great trivia about how much they spent on it and shot.
They dropped a freaking car from the sky in Chicago. It's great. It's so good. Musical comedy. Like SNL era, National Lampoon era guys just doing their thing and being weird. Like Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd is like 27 in that movie, which is crazy. I think Dan Aykroyd is one of the most underrated people from the SNL era of people.
Well, he's got great tequila.
I think yes, and he believes in aliens. He believes in ghosts. He's a crazy person, but he is one of the funniest people from Saturday Night Live. I agree. Dan Aykroyd's amazing. And then I watched Luck of the Irish, the DCOM movie, in honor of
Is it called? Are we calling it DCOM now?
Disney Channel original movies, baby.
I've never come
DCOMs.
across the abbreviation. I've seen a lot of nostalgia for it. I watched a lot of them. I love them.
Alyssa wanted me to watch it really bad, so I said I'm gonna watch this with you.
Hell yeah, I'd
And
love to
it
go back and
was-
watch some of those.
Dude, they're
We watched
something.
Halloween Town, all the Halloween Town movies at Halloween.
I for a boo basket that I got Alyssa, I got her some guy like records and makes art of VHSs, and I got Halloween Town 1 and 2 on a VHS in like an old school Disney case, clamshell case. It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was
That's
really
good.
into it. I watched Halloween Town. I like Halloween Town. I watched what's the other one? A
When
Phantom of the
watching
Meg-
the original Halloween Town, I was like, yeah, I have fond memories of this. It's not gonna like hold
Oh,
up very
no.
well. And I was like, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Enjoyed it.
and you get Debbie Reynolds. She's wonderful.
Yeah,
Debbie
she's really good in
Reynolds
that.
is great. Phantom of the Megaplex, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It's a good one. But the reason we watched it after Sinners, as she's saying in chat here, Luck of the Irish, is because Ryan Coogler based his bad guy Irish character off of the bad guy from Luck of the Irish. So
That's crazy.
good old double feature there. I hated it. But that's besides the point. But yeah, that's all I've been. And then I've been reading my Oscar book. So if you
Nice.
want to keep that conversation going, tell us about the movies you're watching, tell us about the books you're reading, any of these things, write an essay if you want. I don't care. Join us in our Discord, and you can follow us on Instagram. You can check out my letterbox, see what I've been watching lately. Next week, we're going to be starting a new theme to lighten the mood a little bit with some classic comedies from 1996 with our April Fool's edition, and we're doing Happy Gilmore first. So.
Oh, huge
It's
movie
a
to
big
me as a
movie, big,
childhood.
big.
Yeah.
I do have to figure out when we're going to be doing that because next Sunday's Easter and I'm flying on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll find out when we're going to be doing that, and I'll let you all know in Discord and on Instagram. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time here on 52/1996.
Be nice to women.
Hell yeah.
We spun the reel through desert storms and courtroom cries. Love letters burned, planes went down, truth hit